Welcome back, trainers, and we are going to be talking about PvP. So it has been announced, sort of. It's been talked about by John Hanke saying, yes, we are working on PvP. It's no longer some sort of myth or far-off fantasy. It's actually a reality at this point because, well, he said it's going to be coming. And since that has been confirmed, I figured we should talk about a few things pertaining to PvP and your Pokemon and how battling is going to work and certain Pokemon moves that you want. Okay, so let's jump right into this. Now, how is all of this going to work? Are we going to be able to PvP anywhere or at a specific designated location, say a PvP gym or a gym itself? Will a gym become a place to drop Pokemon, and then there's going to be a special icon to tap so that you can go into a PvP battle or make a lobby and wait for other people? Is there going to be 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3? What are we going to see? So let's talk about a few of these things. As far as all that goes, about where all the battles are going to be taking place, we'll just have to wait and see. It would be amazing to battle people anywhere where there is an internet connection, but also they might have designated battling areas for PvP, 2v2 or 3v3 if those are released alongside PvP as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully they give us some options. So let's go ahead and jump into counters and things like that. I'm going to use Charizard as an example right here. Then we're going to go over a few others. So if you're playing PvP, I need wing attack. I would prefer Ember and Dragon Claw just for coverage, but for the sake of this video, since I don't have one, so Air Slash and Dragon Claw. Let's just pretend it had a fire move and then obviously the dragon move. So when you're PvPing people, the whole thing is to try to have coverage. Coverage is moves that will take out Pokemon that you're not super effective to in the first place. So a Charizard using fire moves is not very effective to a dragon, right? So if somebody is using a grass type, you have your Charizard, you bust it out, you're in PvP, the battle is heated, and they're like, oh shoot, I cannot stay into this battle with this Charizard using a fire move. They switch out to say some sort of dragon, and then you have coverage, you have Dragon Claw, so you're going to be doing super effective, and then all of a sudden, bam, you hit them with the super effective move. They're like, oh geez, this is not an actual pure fire attacker, it is split between dragon and fire. So it's going to be great to have coverage moves like that. Say a legacy move on Machamp, Stone Edge. Although I will say this, if you go into a PvP battle with a Machamp, maybe in the future he'll learn some sort of dark move, but for now you want, I would say, Dynamic Punch. Stone Edge would be great coverage, but at the same time you might get walled by people's Blissies, and how that's going to work, we're just going to have to see. Are you going to be able to use multiple Pokemon? Is it going to be just one of each type, only one legendary, no legendaries, underused Pokemon, overused? So we'll just have to wait and see. Underused and overused. So if you're not familiar with Pokemon terms, that is Pokemon that are overused, which are just, let me go like this. You just basically have to go by CP, and all of these Pokemon are overused. There's a lot of legendaries here, but like, Dragonite, I would assume Exeggutor, the OU Pokemon in Pokemon Go. The list might be a little different compared to the main series games, but we're just going to have to wait and see. I hope there's options for us to make it so, okay, check only one unique, one of each Pokemon, so nobody can stack up on like 3 Blissies or something ridiculous like that, because I wouldn't even really, I mean, that would be fun, a free-for-all match, of course, but also rules would be great as well. So back onto the coverage. Now let's go to Groudon here. This one has Mud Shot and Earthquake. So what is he? He is a pure ground type. He is weak against ice and water, grass. All right. So a good coverage move on him. A double ground move, works. It would work in PvP, I suppose. But what if they switch into a grass Pokemon? What if they switch into a water Pokemon? Your Groudon's going to get destroyed. Now, I don't like using this specific Pokemon as an example because it's a legendary and I want to stick to non-legendary Pokemon, but just for the sake of the argument. Now, if the opponent does switch into your weakness, which is grass or water, he does have coverage for both of those. He has Fire Blast and he has Solar Beam. Now, I'm going to highly recommend a Solar Beam coverage for Groudon because, well, it does so much damage, even better than Earthquake, no matter what circumstance, really. And you're going to be able to pretty much one-shot them if they do not dodge. All right, so, you know, you're probably starting to understand the idea here. Now, let me go to Slowking. Now, I'm going to use Slowking as another example because this Pokemon here is unique. It can learn a water and a fire type move all at the same time. So you have Water Gun and Fire Blast, which is amazing. Now, it's not the best Pokemon around. It's not the worst either. You know, it's a fairly rounded Pokemon. I would prefer a 2 charge bar. Hopefully, it will get a Community Day spotlight one day, and we can get that. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about this. So, what are you weak against here? You're weak against Dark, Bug, Electric, Grass, and do Ghost. All right. So, you can't completely have coverage for all of those, but what you can do is, say somebody switches into a Dragon and they're like, oh, it's a Slowking. I'll just, if it has Psychic, it's going to be neutral. If it has Water, it's not going to be very effective. I'll go with that. And these decisions need to be made in a split second here while you're battling PvP. Otherwise, you're going to get chipped away at your health. So, say they do switch into, you're going up against a ground type. You're like, yeah, Water Gun, Water Gun, Water Gun. And they're like, oh, okay, this thing is using water moves. I'm going to use my Dragonite. Now, if you have something like this, but pretend it had Water Gun and Blizzard, okay? It's going to switch into the Dragonite or Dragon type or whatever Dragon Pokemon they're using, and you're going to hit them with a Blizzard. And they're going to be like, oh, geez, dang. It's not a pure water type attacker. So, are you starting to understand the patterns here and the word coverage? I know a lot of people who are watching me understand how all that works, but there's also people who've never played Pokemon before Pokemon Go. And I know a lot of them are starting to understand super effective moves and all that, considering the amount of time they've played. But when it comes to PvP, it's going to be a whole new ball game, okay? So these coverage moves are going to be very useful in the long run. So if you're starting to understand the pattern here, Slowking was a good example. Let me see if I can find another one here. Something that has coverage for what it's weak against. I can go Mightyena. I can go with my Alakazam, but it's in a gym, so of course I can't give you an example. And so is my Muck, so I can't give you another one there. Let's go with Ampharos. That's a good one. And this is actually going to be decent. So say you're going up against a water Pokemon and you're using your, let's say you didn't have Volt Switch, but you had Charge Beam, this set right here. All right, and they have a Vaporeon out. And you're hitting them with Charge Beam, and they're like, oh, geez, gotta... And I'm going to keep going back to these dragons. It's so funny. But there's a lot more, you know, coverage moves you can have, except for just dragon types. But you're going to see those in PvP, so expect it. You can simply bring Ice, but they will bring Rock. And they will bring Fire, all right? So you have to keep all of these things in your mind. All right, anyway. You're attacking this Vaporeon, right? Charge Beam, Charge Beam. You haven't revealed your Dragon Pulse yet. And then they switch into their Dragonite. And then all of a sudden, bam! You hit them with a Dragon Pulse. So, I mean, the coverage explanation should be clear almost now at this point. And just to let you know, I do, in fact, have an EX raid in a couple hours. So look forward to that. Should be fun. Oh, man, I'm running low on star pieces. Okay, now, another good example is going to be Crobat. Now, pretend it had Shadow Ball. All right? What is this weak against? It's weak against Rock and Psychic, right? Electric type as well, Ice as well. But let's focus on the Psychic aspect here. So you're going up, you bring out your Crobat, you're doing Air Slash to, let's say, a fighting type Pokemon. And they're like, oh, okay, they want to play like this, and then they bust out an Alakazam or an Espeon. And if you have Shadow Ball and you still have not revealed it, and not revealing is an important part of this PvP in the future, because if you reveal which charge move you have, that's going to determine whether or not they're going to switch into the Pokemon that you're going to be super effective to or not. Because if you're sitting there and you're attacking something, you know, for instance, just you're using your Crobat with Air Slash and let's just say Shadow Ball, which it can learn, and all of a sudden you use the Shadow Ball and they're about to switch into a Psychic Pokemon, say Espeon, and you use that Shadow Ball, they're like, oh, whoa, hold up, I'm not switching into that. I'm going to switch into my Aggron, or I'm going to switch into my Tyranitar. So I'm going to bite it and Stone Edge that thing, or Crunch it, or whatever move it has at that time. Hopefully Larvitar gets Community Day and learns another move. So anyway, it's important to not reveal your move until the timing is right. Maybe they switch out. If they're very brave and they just stick it out and just take the super effective hits with that quick move, there'll probably be a point in time where you're just going to use your charge and you're going to say, okay, I have to at this point. But if they do switch into a Psychic Pokemon, you're going to just wreck it with Shadow Ball. That was a long explanation for that. But I'm just trying to bring the point home here, is to make sure you have double coverage. Having two of the same types, or say for instance Flying and Poison type, he has two different types itself, and both of those moves covered here as well. That's good also, but it's going to be nice to have something that's completely off the radar and sort of unexpected possibly, because that's what's going to help you win these battles. I personally think we'll just have to wait. I hope it's not just one big tap fest, but the future will see what we have. Okay, another great Pokemon to use is going to be Arcanine with Fire Fang and Wild Charge. So having Fire Fang is going to make it so that, you know, a lot of people are going to know, oh, it probably has Wild Charge. But if you had Snarl, they can throw in a Grass type and be safe, because when you do that Wild Charge, it's not going to be very effective to the Grass type. That's if you had Snarl for a quick move. Now, if you have Fire Fang, they wouldn't dare throw in a Grass type Pokemon in there, because even if you didn't do your charge move, you're still going to be doing massive damage. Not only because Arcanine is pretty tough and that move is strong, but you know, they're going to be weak against fire types. So that's going to be good coverage for water types as well. You might want to just take a few hits and just dish out that massive Wild Charge damage, because it does charge fairly fast. Or you can go with a Snarl and Wild Charge, therefore you can do neutral damage with your Snarl towards a water type, and also put in massive damage if they do not switch out. But if they do go into, say, a Dragon type, having Snarl might be the better option in that case. Okay, another good one here is going to be Blastoise. If you're using your Water Gun on a, say, they're using a Golem, and you switch into your Blastoise, you're like, yeah, go Blastoise, Water Gun, Water Gun, Water Gun. Some people may suspect you have Ice Beam, some people may not. So they might want to deflect that water by once again switching into a Dragon type, and you can go in there and hit it with super effective Ice Beam. Now this can be spread through, I mean, all different types of Pokemon. I know I keep going back to the Dragons, but you understand my point here. Let's see what else we have. Oh, here we go. Ninetales. Alright, so if you're sitting there hitting their Grass Pokemon with Fire Spin, or their Steel type with Fire Spin, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're like thinking to themselves, okay, I gotta switch this up here, otherwise I'm gonna be defeated. And they switch into a water. By the time they switch into the water, your Solar Beam's ready to go, and bam, even if they dodge, you're going to be hitting them with heavy splash damage. And if they don't, I don't want to say you're going to one-hit KO them, but you're going to do a massive chunk to their health. So it's things like that, and that's why I like odd moves like this, is because I've been thinking about PvP. And not only have I been thinking about PvP, but when I go into gyms, I like to have a good move coverage, because you can Fire Spin something all the way till it's defeated, and then expect the next Pokemon to be weak against your Solar Beam and already be ready and have that charged up, and just pretty much one-shot it and then hit it like 4 or 5 times, and then just move on to the next Pokemon for neutral damage between these two moves. You don't have to always have two of the same types. It's always nice to have coverage. That's just personally me, being a Pokemon Go, or not a well, I am a Pokemon Go player, but being a Pokemon player of the main series ever since it was released, and being highly competitive and winning lots of tournaments here in my city, I have a good understanding of that. When it comes down to all that strategy and the main series in Pokemon Go, it's a whole lot different, because in the main series you have items, and that's a big game changer. For instance, Porygon 2 holding something called an Evolite item, which is an item that increases their defense, special defense, and regular defense for a Pokemon that is not fully evolved. So that Porygon 2 is going to be super defensive, and it has amazing coverage, say Ice, Thunder, Recover, just to heal your health, and then maybe some sort of status thing, Paralyze or whatever. But the key is to just outsmart or to predict your opponent and what they're going to do next. And I was amazing at that. Whew, I can tell you so many matches that were so close in the main series game that I had here in tournaments that were just like, I predicted so well, it was eerie and weird. Like, I couldn't believe it. The opponent would just look up at me with like a look on his face like I was looking on the screen or something. And then we have Cradily, which I'm very fond of here. You're going to be strong against Dark, Psychic, Water, and Rock, and Ground. Alright, so it's going to be doing, some pretty good coverage there. Are you going to be outputting a lot of damage? Not quite. Are you going to be able to take hits? Yeah, and not a lot of people know what this thing is weak against, so that's also going to be a very interesting one. I'm not saying that's going to be like some PvP all-star, but it's things like that you want to use, typings of Pokemon that are going to throw people off to not exactly have the super effective move against you, and possibly not very effective. Alright, so if you don't understand by now, which I'm pretty sure I drove that point home, is to basically have coverage. Alright, that's it. If you're weak against an electric type, try to make a team that works around being able to cover that Pokemon and then the next Pokemon. See, so how I work is my first Pokemon is going to be the main one going in, right? And the second one is going to be the one that's going to be able to defend that Pokemon. And then it's going to be like a chain reaction with the next Pokemon, and the next, and the next, and the next. Okay, so you might have a clear understanding now. Hopefully you do. And so that's pretty much it. And as far as, let's go Tyranitar. Where is my fire? There's my Fire Blast. So you're going to be weak against Grass type, right? Now, if they switch into a Grass type Pokemon and you're using Tyranitar, and you're biting away at your opponent with the Bite or Iron Tail, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, I'm switching into Grass. Let's get this on. I'm going to, do some super effective. But if they're going to use Fighting, you might be in a little bit of trouble. But say they do switch into a Grass type, you'll be able to hit them with super effective fire. So it's things like that. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at fighting Pokemon. It's basically Machamp, right? Alright, so fighting. What kind of coverage do these things really have? Now, I don't know if you would really want to go into a PvP with this unless you're playing with some sort of rule like underused Pokemon, or Pokemon that cannot go past like 2100 CP or some sort of rules. But Hitmonchan has quite a few coverages here. Let me show you. There's the Ice Punch, has Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, plenty of different moves, so that should be interesting. But like I said, you probably don't want to go into a PvP with a Hitmonchan unless you're playing under some sort of special rules. I do not, unfortunately, have a Stone Edge Machamp anymore. I switched that up a long time ago, and that's that. But that's a legacy move now, so if you're weak against, obviously, flying types and you're fighting, Stone Edge is going to be great for, say, a Dragonite. So you got to look out with those Dragonites that have Hurricane. It's going to be super effective to you. But more than likely, you're going to see Dragonites with Outrage. And okay, I know my Muck isn't a gym, but let's say you're using your Muck. You have Poison Jab and Dark Pulse, so they want to take you out. They're like, oh, time to use some Psychic Pokemon. And you have Dark Pulse. Bam! Super effective. But if they're going to pull out a Ground-type Pokemon, that's not going to be super effective. But if you had, say, as opposed to Gunk Shot or something like that, that's not going to be very effective to the ground types or the rock types, then Dark Pulse is just going to be neutral damage, which is going to be beneficial. Not to mention it's 2 charge bars for a decent amount of damage. So, I hope that helped you out, trainers. That's just a little insight talking about the future of Pokemon Go, just, you know, coverages and whatnot. And as far as how is it going to work, I know I discussed this in the beginning of the video, but I think it's going to be based on a location. I would love to battle somebody anywhere, any place, anytime, but I have a feeling they're going to make it so you have to go to either gyms, or between now and whenever PvP comes out, they're going to bring out some sort of new battle PvP station gym of some sort. So we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds. With that said, I hope that helped you understand PvP a little bit more and having move coverages. Just a very quick video on that. I can go over this for a long time and go way more in depth. I was just trying to make it nice, quick, and understandable for everybody to get. Make sure you have the notifications on. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the like button. Really helps me out. And look forward to that Mewtwo battle later. I'm not going to be doing it with 3 people. I'm pretty sure this time. We're just going to go in with a group. And yeah, do it like that. So hopefully I can maybe get a 100. I was contemplating whether or not I'm going to power up another Mewtwo. Because it would be nice. I have 2.5 powered up right now. Let me check. Why not? Mewtwo. Alright, let's go C. Alright, it's already CP. So I have 1, 2, 3 and a half Mewtwo's. Oh, more than a half. This, see, there you go. So 3 are powered up. This one needs 1 more power up. I consider this pretty much maxed out. And that's that. So if I did power up another one, unfortunately this one has 14 attack, 15 defense, 15 stamina. So it's, you know, has everything that I, you know, don't want. Basically, I want 15 attack, 10 defense, and 15 stamina, but that works out. So, yeah, I was contemplating whether or not powering this up and keeping Confusion Shadow Ball. I wanted to switch them up to all Psychic, but the move pool for Mewtwo is also kind of bigger than the rest of the Pokemon, and it can jump back between 2 moves very often, so I don't want to risk it. I'm already down to 19 TMs from trying to change so many of my other Pokemon's moves and not even getting them. So I'm going to hold off on using those for now. But what would be the main point? What would be the point to have so many powered up Mewtwo's? Well, for one, you're going to be just a massively strong trainer. And 2, you'll be able to do things that you probably have never done before. But like I've said, comparing Mewtwo to Alakazam and Espeon against a Machamp raid, the only difference is Mewtwo can take hits, you know, obviously better than those. But as far as performance and DPS, I almost feel like they're almost on par, to be honest with you guys. But only when it comes down to Psychic and Confusion against a Machamp. All right, very specific here. Compared to Alakazam and Espeon, I feel like they're all on par, just, you know, barely. So the point of having all these, switching all these to Psychic to go into a Machamp raid, I know it would be cool, and I've done it. I've made those videos before, folks. I've made a Confusion, Psychic, all 4 up against a Machamp, and it only takes 4 of them. You don't need more than that. All right, so I'm not gonna do that for now. So I'm gonna keep their moves. But anyways, like I said, I was thinking about powering up one. Maybe not. We'll have to wait and see what the future holds. So with that said, thank you for watching, everybody, and I'll be catching you on my next video. Take care.